forgot to tell you something yesterday. I forgot to tell you something. Bear with me. Bear with me. I forgot to tell you something yesterday. Hold on. Hold on. Eat your fruits. So it's one of my favorite places, by the way. But real quick, I ain't gonna take too much of your time. Um, let's start here. Let's start here. Please, please bear with me. Please, please. All right. Okay. So the way he explained this, I just thought this was really cool. This is Carl Jung, by the way. He says, this is we still talking about the collective unconscious. We still talking about the collective unconscious. So kind of like yesterday, you feel me? I was speaking on like kind of like this modern day collective unconscious, or how we can, as individuals and groups, how we can create and kind of mold a this collective unconscious. You feel me? Um, in our communities, kind of mold this collective unconscious in our communities and in our individual neighborhoods and so on and so forth. But this goes beyond that. This goes beyond just the household, family, the family, the neighborhood. It goes beyond that. This is this collective unconscious. It's worldwide. It permeates all cultures. You feel me? It permeates all cultures, on all four corners of the earth, as they say. And the time, in terms of the time frame, the timeline, it extends back to those primordial days, to those days into which we don't have any recordings of, and we can't consciously remember. But anyways, real quick, and I know this stuff is boring. I know this stuff may be boring. I try to make it fun for us. Look, I play for Professor, don't I? I play for Professor. This is practice, man. I'm trying to. You feel me? I'm practicing. So when I teach my kids, when I talk to my kids, you feel me? I have an idea on how to go about these things. You feel me? So please leave in the comments. If I'm boring, say, hey man, this stuff is crap. just tell me, just tell me. Nah, but for real, I try to make it fun for us. Okay, I try to make it fun for you guys. Okay, and for myself. All right, I try to make it fun for you and myself, and yeah. So I'm open to constructive criticism. All right, all right. For here we go. All right, and he says, we mean by collective unconscious a certain psychic disposition shaped by the forces of heredity from its consciousness has developed. Okay, let me read that again because I kind of read that. I'm trying to get the tones and stuff right. Let me read that again. All right. All right. We mean by collective unconscious a certain psychic disposition shaped by the forces of heredity. From it, consciousness has developed. All right. And it goes on to say, in the physical structure of the body, we find traces of earlier stages of evolution, and we may expect the human psyche also to conform in its makeup to the law of phylogeny. I still ain't looked up that word. I still ain't looked up how to pronounce that word. that I don't know if that's how you pronounce that word, but we're gonna go with that. Phylogeny. Yeah. Okay. Um. So that's his definition of the collective unconscious. Um. So what I interpret from that, what I interpret from that is, uh, so what I interpret from that is just like our bodies have evolved, just like our bodies have evolved to function how they do, right? So like when we're born, we come out breathing, our heart is beating, um, we blink, we may cry. These are all common characteristics of a baby, no matter what culture, no matter what race. You see what I'm saying? And so this is, you feel me, a collective biology that we all have. Well, Carl Jung says it's the same with our minds, so the way we think, we all have this origin of consciousness and unconsciousness, and he calls it the collective unconscious, right? So that's just interesting. I thought that I would share that. So despite what culture you're from, what faith you're in, um, we have these obvious similarities, right? We have skin, we have hair on our face, we have hair on our head, fingers and toes. This is obvious. It's obvious. But we also have somewhere along the way, I'm not sure where. I'm trying to find. That's why I be reading and studying. Somewhere along the way, we also share commonalities within here. Within here. And it predates any of our records, any of our record keeping. He actually he so Carl Jung, when he was studying this stuff, if I'm not mistaken, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what helped him kind of reinforce this theory is he had traveled to different countries and different continents. He had traveled to different continents and different countries, and he found common traits and similarities within symbols, that these prehistoric humans have created. So he had found similar characteristics and similar characters and similar symbols in different places around the world. You know, dating back, in the prehistoric days. Is it prehistoric? I could be saying that wrong. If I'm wrong, let me know, and I'll make sure that I put the right answer up there. But yeah, and then obviously it's gonna be like, well, yeah, it used to be, the world used to be, all the continents used to be connected, and then migration and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, exactly, exactly. So what does that tell us? What does that tell us? There's there's something else pretty interesting. I didn't know if I was gonna actually speak on this, but it's something else that I found in one of his other books that is really interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and read it. Why not? All right. Th- no, this is not what you think it is. This is No, no, it's not what you think it is. But it's good text though. It is good text. All right. Look, it even got the. That's crazy, ain't it? But when you read it, you'll understand. You'll start to connect the dots here. All right. It says, so he was talking about how the collective unconscious becomes active. Yeah. So what I interpret for what I'm about to read, excuse me, what I interpret from what I'm about to read, he explains how the collective unconscious, how it becomes activated, how it becomes active. Um, it says it became activated through a crisis in an individual's life and the collapse of hopes and expectations. And then there's a second way. It says, and the second, it became activated at times of great social, political, and religious upheaval. So let me read that again. So, um, so it says he differentiated between two situations in which the collective unconscious became active. It's two different situations. One, in the first, it became activated through a crisis in an individual's life and the collapse of hopes and expectations. In the second, it became activated at times of great social, political, and religious upheaval. At such moments, the factors suppressed by the prevailing attitudes accumulate in the collective unconscious. Strongly intuitive individuals become aware of these and try to translate them into communicable ideas. That is some good word. I don't know about you. Look to your neighbor and say, neighbor, collective unconscious. So what I interpret from that is there's people out there that can realize things that other people don't realize. I'm trying to keep from preaching out here, man. You feel me? I'm trying to keep from preaching. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep from preaching out here. Bear with me. Bear with me. I'm trying to keep from preaching out here. What I interpret from that is there are some people that are so intuitive and they're so locked in and they are so aware of things that they are able to realize and they are able to see things that other people don't see. And somehow their brain calculates predictions. You know, you might call them psychics or seers or prophets or something like that. So these individuals are able to calculate scenarios, right? They're able to calculate scenarios. Um, and they find a way to communicate this. They find a way to communicate this. And what are those ways? Well, I'm going to just ask you a question. And this is going to answer that question. What are the ways that these intuitive individuals communicate this collective unconscious? Your answer to the next question I'm about to ask is going to be the answer to that question. Have you been working on your craft? Have you been working on your craft? And I'm going to leave you with that. Y'all have a good day.